Okay, so today we're going to dive into a real classic of Indian literature. It's a story that is just as heartbreaking as it is powerful. We're talking about the tragic tale from Munshi Premchand's incredible novel, Nirmala.
Now what's wild is that this book was written almost 100 years ago, but when you read it, wow. The themes, things like the dowry system, these totally mismatched marriages, the crushing weight of what society expects from you, they don't just feel relevant, they feel urgent, even today. It's one of those stories that, I'm telling you, really sticks with you long after you've finished it.
Just look at this line. We girls, our home is nowhere. That one sentence, spoken by our young protagonist, pretty much sums up the absolutely devastating journey we're about to witness. So, let's start at the beginning. Let's meet the girl at the heart of it all.
All right, so let's get to know the girl at the center of our story, Nirmala.
So when we first meet Nirmala, she is just the picture of youthful innocence, you know? She's only 15 years old, spending her days playing with her little sister Krishna, totally lost in this world of dolls and daydreams. She has absolutely no idea that, behind the scenes, her entire life is being planned out for her.
And then the news drops. She's getting married. And it's like a switch is flipped. In an instant, all that light, that playfulness, it just vanishes. The girl we just met is gone, and in her place is this quiet, serious, withdrawn young woman. She's just filled with this deep, unspoken fear about what's coming next.
You really feel it in this heartbreaking moment she has with her sister. She asks her, if this were my home, why would anyone force me out? I mean, just think about that. It's this sudden, bitter realization for her. She gets it, maybe for the very first time, that as a girl, she doesn't really have a home. Her father's house is just a waiting room before she's sent off somewhere else.
And that feeling of being displaced, of not belonging, well, that leads us right to the marriage that's going to seal her fate.
So let's look at the reality of this marriage, because it is just stark. What happens is her father dies unexpectedly, and the first much better engagement falls through. So instead, Nirmala gets married off to a man named Totaram. And get this, he's a widower, he's the same age as her dad, and he already has 3 sons. So you have to ask, how is she supposed to see this man as a husband? To her, he's basically a father figure, someone you respect, not a partner you love.
Her mind tries to make sense of all this trauma, and it comes out in this incredibly powerful dream she has the night before her wedding. So picture this, she's standing by a river, and this gorgeous, perfect boat sails up. But just as she's about to get on, the boatman holds up a hand and says, "There is no place for you here." And you realize, this boat, it's the happy marriage she was supposed to have, the one that's now gone forever.
So she's left there on the riverbank, totally alone and terrified. And then she sees another boat coming towards her. But this one, it's a total wreck. It's this tiny, broken-down dinghy, planks all shattered, filled with water. It's barely even floating.
And then the boatman tells her, "This is the one that has been sent for you. Come, sit down." And that's it. She's completely resigned to it. She gets into this broken boat, forced to accept a fate that she knows deep down is only going to lead to ruin. It's just devastating.
So you might think life in her new home becomes a nightmare because of obvious cruelty, right? But no, it's something way more subtle, way more insidious. A poison starts to seep in, and that poison is suspicion. Okay, so here's how it all starts to go wrong. Her husband, Totaram, is just riddled with insecurity. I mean, there's this huge age gap, and he just can't connect with her. He sees Nirmala striking up this really easy, totally innocent friendship with his oldest son, Mansaram, who's actually close to her in age. And then he finds out that Mansaram has been secretly teaching her English. And that's when his insecure mind just takes this simple, kind act and twists it into something horrible and ugly.
This is the exact moment that poison takes hold. The book describes it so powerfully. It says, he felt a snake slithering across his chest. Can you imagine? He confronts Nirmala, and his mind it fills with this baseless but absolutely devastating suspicion about her and his own son.
And that one suspicion, born from one man's insecurity, well, that's the spark that's about to set off an absolute catastrophe.
Totaram starts treating his son horribly. He's cold, he's contemptuous, making these little veiled accusations about an affair that never ever happened. And Mansaram, who's this really sensitive, honorable kid, is just destroyed by his father's mistrust, completely broken. He stops eating, he gets terribly sick, and in the end, he dies. He literally dies of a broken heart.
And Mansaram's death is just the first domino to fall. After that, everything collapses. Todataram is eaten alive by guilt, so he just stops working. The second son blames Nirmala for all of it, so he steals her jewelry and runs away from home. Then the third son disappears too. The family just spirals into poverty, and Nirmala herself, her health just starts to fail under the crushing weight of it all.
So we come to the final chapter of her life, and Nirmala, who's still so young, is left with literally nothing. She's frail, she's wasting away, and she says this: "The one for whom living is only to weep, it is better for them to die." I mean, can you hear the total loss of hope in those words? Her whole life has just been one tragedy after another, all caused by other people, and at this point she just doesn't see any reason to go on.
And Premchand describes her death with this beautiful but so sad metaphor. He writes that the bird of life, hurt and battered all day by hunters' arrows, flew towards its nest. After a life of being constantly attacked by fate and suspicion, her spirit is finally free. She dies, leaving behind her own young daughter to face this world all alone.
So, Nirmala's story comes to an end, but the questions it leaves us with, they definitely don't. I mean, think about it. This book is 100 years old, but the big themes, societal pressure, how quickly mistrust can destroy lives, the vulnerability of women, we're still talking about all of this today, aren't we? It really makes you think, what does a tragic story like this one tell us about the world we're living in right now?
Thank you so much for joining me as we walk through the tragic story of Nirmala.